Hey folks, I wanted to talk today about the on-ramp forbearance ending September 30th. It's a pretty big deal. The on-ramp forbearance is a program that has basically made it so that there's almost no consequences whatsoever for not making any payments on student loans for a very extended period of time. So the on-ramp forbearance is something that, really has not been a it's been something that there's just, again, no consequences to not paying your student loans. And so what does it mean when there's a return of consequences to paying your student loans? Well, if you have that return of consequences, it means garnishments can happen. It means there's reporting to credit bureaus. It means that there is late credit report, late payments being reported to credit bureaus. It means your loans can actually go into delinquency and default, and they can garnish, garnish you again. Basically, that's the big thing to know. And so, if you are in a forbearance of some sort, know that flexibility is coming to an end. Now, that does not mean that you can't still ask for a forbearance. You actually can. So if you need to get paused payments, what you can do is reach out to your servicer and cite economic hardship. Say, I'm dealing with a economic hardship. I cannot really make my payments right now. I need to go on an economic hardship. So that is something that you can do. And that is something that I would encourage anybody to do if you are not able to make your payments. Now, what does it mean that the flexibility of the on-ramp forbearance is ending at a time when people cannot, sign up for income-driven repayment programs? The programs are paused right now. Literally, there's nothing that you can do to, sign up for income-driven repayment besides submitting a paper application, which won't be processed. It's literally not processing right now due to the lawsuits against the Sept plan. And so, by the way, if anybody's joining us for this live today, just put your comments in the chat. So I think that, this really difficult situation with this on-ramp forbearance ending is it's scheduled to end at this very inopportune time when there is no, ability to rectify the situation by applying for income-based repayment, for example, which is not part of the lawsuits against the Sept plan. So what we have is millions of people who have been not paying their loans, not having any negative consequences from not paying their loans. This was really intended to be a period after the student loan pause ended so that people could have flexibility as to how, they would go about starting payments again after a period of 3 years plus not making any payments. And so this program was always intended to help ease people back into payments. And the Sept plan was supposed to be there as a safety net to help people make that reintroduction into payments for people who, were struggling to make their monthly student loan bills every month. And without the Sept plan being there, you would hope that income-based repayment would be there, but right now it's really not, right? The income-based repayment program is not there at the moment because the Department of Education has just chosen not to be making payments available to people under IBR. They've chosen not to make it, able to have borrowers apply for IBR on the online website. So that's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So what we're going to experience here, I think, is a sort of quiet continuation of the on-ramp forbearance, but not formally. What I mean by that is when that ends September 30th, in the month of October, you really have to be about 90 days late before some serious stuff starts happening. That's just something to know. So it's 90 days is, you're considered late, and then 270 is when they consider you in default. Or, so if you think about those two windows, October 24th is when we're going to have this ruling or hearing, I should say, on the appeals court's view of all these injunctions they've been doing. So we're going to know a lot more as on October 24th. Now, I do think that if you are worried about the on-ramp ending and you cannot afford to make standard payments, what I would probably do is just to type in IBR paper application request. You'll find a PDF version of that. So you'll find that, and then what you can do is take that document and then upload it to your servicer's online portal where you would upload documents. And so if you do that, then that's going to allow you to at least say that you put in for a plan, right? We also have a calculator on our studentloanplanner.com website that you can use to calculate what would your IBR payment be. And so you could at least know what your payment would be, and you can go ahead and apply with that paper application so this on-ramp forbearance won't really crush you when it ends, because at least you could point to that and say, hey, look, I was making a payment, it's on there. So, people shouldn't really be all upset about that, because it's literally, I made an attempt, even though the Department of Education didn't want to help me, right? So this is it's a very frustrating experience. It's a very difficult time for student loan borrowers, having all these things frozen, just having, just really the inability to do what you want to do on your student loans. It's just maddening. But I don't think this is always going to be this way. I think that, at worst, we're going to have to wait about a month before we know more. And, and I think that when we're thinking about, what can you do as a borrower? Sometimes the only answer is to have patience. And that's really the only option that we've got at the moment between now and October 24th. Now, once we hear, in October 24th, what also we expect to have happen is there's all these recertifications due, right? With this on-ramp forbearance period ending, we also have a lot of people that have to start recertifying their IDR payments come November. How are people supposed to do that when the online website is down? So I think that what we might see is just complete radio silence in the student loan programs through the election in the hopes that nothing that the Biden Harris administration does will impact the election, right? Because obviously they're hoping to win, and I suspect that perhaps they're just trying to either stay very quiet because they don't want negative election impacts, or because they don't want to antagonize a very conservative appeals court that's going to be making a lot of rulings on their signature programs. So we could just see a lot of quiet besides that court hearing October 24th. And then we might see whether or not people need to recertify. And I wouldn't be surprised if they push that recertification date back. But if they wait to push it back until after the election because of their goals of trying to not antagonize this conservative court, or just to keep student loans out of the headlines because they don't view it as a winning issue politically to talk about, which, I'm not qualified to talk about the politics of things. I just know that, it just seems like the Department of Education is just all up in their heads or something. They don't know what to do during this period. So on-ramp forbearance ending, be aware of that, and know that if you need to recertify, you can wait until as late as 10 days before that is due, before you're supposed to do that, before it's actually late. So if you wanted to wait until the last second to recertify your income, you can do that. You can wait as late as, I wouldn't go 10 days. I'd probably not let it go longer than 2 weeks before your actual IDR recertification date. But you could do that if you wanted to just sort of hedge your bets and see what happens with all these programs ending and all the chaos that's ensuing. So if you have any comments or questions about on-ramp forbearance ending, or just the chaos of recertifying your income, or the chaos of not having the online applications for IDR available, put them in the comments. And thank you for subscribing to Student Loan Planner.